the UNESCO benchmarks, which has been designed that if you want to do anything for teachers, is to follow those principles in the next benchmark. Achievement of MPP government since we started, based upon our manifesto, summary of our achievements, and the teacher we expect tomorrow. We just saw a clip of Professor Anamwa Mensah, who was in charge of the Anamwa Mensah report under President Kufuor. Report which we couldn't implement under President Kufuor because our governance reign was curtailed by the entrance into the politics of late President John Evans Atta Mills, and continued hopelessly, poorly, incompetently by John Dramani Mahama. Thanks for the advent of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Those that were truncated, we are completing. And as he said, Professor Anamwa Mensah said, this is the best time to be a teacher. Before 2017, and when President Kufuor came into office, most teachers were either Certificate A or pupil teachers. There they brought in the program of untrained teacher diploma in basic education, where a lot of untrained and Certificate A teachers, especially the pupil teachers, also got trained as teachers in diploma education. And before President Kufuor left, we transformed the teacher training colleges to colleges of education. And the College of Education bill came into Parliament, but we couldn't pass it before he left the scene. This college bill, delayed for 4 years, was passed in 2012 under President Mills. And after him, God bless his memory, everything went haywire. Next slide. Some of the outcomes that we came to meet were the council teacher training allowance, the council book and research allowance. 20% of students failed in English at WASI. 45% of the students failed in maths. Only 2% of all primary 2 teachers in this one of the studies could speak and write at that level that was expected of them. Teacher absenteeism was over 27%. And sadly, after the curtailment of the teacher training allowance, the feeding allowance that was supposed to go to the College of Education was in arrears for 2 years before we came to office. So we know that we're saddled. When I got into office, the handing over notes that I've been quoting profusely, we're saddled with a lot of problems. Because our certificate, most of the teachers we employed were certificate or diploma teachers. When they got to the classroom, and rightly so, they all wanted to do top-up to upgrade themselves and get better remuneration even under Ghana Education Service. A teacher trying to upgrade himself is not available for the services of the children in the classroom because the teacher too has to promote himself. And it was a big issue. It felt that if we want to curtail teacher absenteeism, some for a very good reason of the teacher upgrading himself, some for the very poor, for another reason of poor remuneration, there was a need to bring all teachers, the initial teacher qualification up. I have already said that it is President Kufuor that moved on pupil teachers to diploma. It was President Kufuor that moved Certificate A teachers to diplomate teachers. And now it's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo who is moving diploma to degree. And not only that, affording those who have diploma a 3-semester program with UCC as a top-up to a degree level. We also met in the teacher space a 3-month pay policy. Ineffective teacher promotion system. Every teacher will tell you, you have to have over 100 panels, and every panel interview only 5 teachers a day. And when you have over 10,000 teachers applying for promotion in a year, the panel never finishes work after 10 months. And by the time the panel gathered this report together, the year had already passed. And it also suffered from the 3-month pay policy. It's not only the training teacher who had his allowance cut. Those who got employed just after school, by the time you are regularized, you came to suffer the 3-month pay policy. That also affected even promotions as well. There were a lot of strike because there was a lot of teacher discontent. And there was poor teacher development pathways, poor school leadership and management, And licensing of teachers, that was in Act 778, for 8 years had not come into being. And next slide. So Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo came on the scene, the President of the Republic, and he believes that the teacher is critical and central to quality education, and therefore instituted the Teacher First policy as part of the many reforms. He believed that if Ghana was supposed to go from low middle income status to a galloping country, developing very, very fast, rapidly attaining the status where Ghana deserves to be, then we have to focus on education and skill training to propel the economy to the center. And if you can do both, you have to make sure the teacher is on a good pedestal. The MPP manifesto, which was my Bible in the ministry, made some promises. One of the first things that it said was that the MPP will signal a sea change in the mindset of the nation, especially the government, in its attitude towards the teaching profession. The government itself must begin to respect that if you want the educational outcomes to benefit the nation, you have to respect teachers. So everything we are doing is to enhance the reputation and the recognition of the teacher. The manifesto said, we shall restore to our teachers the honor and respect they once held as the source of enlightenment at all levels of society, and ensure that teaching becomes once again a profession of choice for ambitious youth. We just help us at the moment and say that there's no better time in his lifetime to become a teacher than now. The MPP manifesto went on to say, we would ensure that teachers who upgrade their qualifications and skills are promoted promptly. And what have we achieved? We'll see very soon whether we have achieved that right back. All what I'm saying is what the MPP manifesto said about teachers. We have to mark ourselves how much we have done, and you realize that probably we have done more than 120% for teachers. We also said we would abolish the payment of utility bills by students. This payment of utility bills among tertiary students started when we had Doom in 2013 under John Dramani Mahama. We said we would encourage colleges to update their curricula carefully, page 109 of the MPP manifesto. We would update the colleges of education to update their curricula to ensure they produce graduates that will teach the well-equipped and critical thinking population we need to move the country forward. So when MPP says we are moving from diploma to BEd, it is a fundamental basis is in our manifesto because we believe the better trained teacher is better for the student that teacher is training. We also said under MPP, teacher training allowance will be fully restored. And that is now history. And some people are still quibbling. Some people are still quibbling whether they will continue with this process. The last clip that I watched of President Dramani Mahama, he said, it's given, when I come I'll continue. But when you take the amount of money by is being spent, it could better have employed teachers. So, only one person can speak with both sides of the mouth. That's President Mahama. In addition, we said mechanisms will be put in place to ensure salaries of new teachers are paid promptly. Unlike at that time when the manifesto was saying, unlike significant delays and the 3-month pay policy. Now it is paid promptly. And so, interesting, just 2 days ago, 22nd October, how many days? Time flies. The election is coming quickly, right? Just on the 22nd November, there was a world ranking study that came out. And Ghana was ranked second in the teacher survey. At the survey of 35 countries, 35,000 participants, and the data was gathered by the Global Teacher Status Index group. And they found out that for countries that respected teachers and did more for teachers, they improved their economies and things. And Ghana was rated second after China. So if in the last 4 years, the Ministry of Education says that we don't see teacher strikes as we used to see them, it's because the unions themselves know that what we are doing for teachers had never existed in the country called Ghana. And thank to His Excellency, the President of the Republic. I did say that when you are dealing with teachers, the UNESCO has already set the nine principles or policies that you have to cover and cover it in all to know that you are thinking about the teacher holistically. Those 9 policies include teacher recruitment and retention, teacher education, teacher deployment, career pathways, teacher employment and conditions of service, teacher reward and remuneration, teacher standards, teacher accountability, and school governance. When you take the first one, which is not on the list, but I want to share with you, it's about teacher standards. Every teacher coming out of every training school, whether it be university, it be college, it be private institution, should be brought up to a certain standard. And that's what all the professions do. If you are a professional, should be brought up to a certain standard. And that's what all the professions do. If you are a professional, whether you trained in law in Legon or KNUST or private, before you get to go and do the course called law at Makola, you should have been trained to a certain level. That is why recently we had the Chief Justice went out with a panel to look at all our legal training institutions and said some of them are not even qualified to train and give that BL degree, let alone come to Makola. That's what all the professions do. You cannot be trained in Legon and become a chartered accountant. Even if you get a first class, you have to come and join ICA or do that study. You cannot be trained in KNUST, as I was trained, to become a doctor. You have to come to your professional colleagues to assign you to a hospital to work under a doctor for 2 years before you are called a doctor. Even when you finish Makola, you have to go and serve as a pupil under a reputed law firm, and those law firms are carefully chosen so that they can say that, yes, you have acquired the skills and the knowledge to call yourself a lawyer. So those standards for the first time in the country were put in place under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So that if, no matter where you were trained, if you came and you went through your licensing program and you passed, you are a teacher, like that professor said, that you're competent enough to compete with globally teachers. And since His Excellency President Akufo-Addo came, when we reformed the Best Teacher Prize to become the Ghana Teacher Prize, 2 of our teachers have been in the top global 50 teachers. Top global 50 teachers. And last year, a Ghanaian won the Africa Teacher Prize under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa. I did say the first of the UNESCO benchmarks was recruitment and retention. In the last 4 years, when I say 4 years, I'm assuming the 4 years ends on 6th January 2021. In the last 4 years, financial clearances given and recruitments done by the end of this term would amount to 93,724. Whereas under President John Dramani Mahama, we had Unemployed Graduate Teachers Association. Under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 24,000 teachers graduates have already been employed. And from Monday, the recruitment portals will open for another 6,500 graduate teachers to be employed. The diploma portal will close on Sunday, where over 14,000 teachers are being recruited again this year. Over 3,200 have already been recruited. Who are those diplomates who qualified in 2017 and 2018 but could not probably get their documentation right to be employed? We've opened that and we have already employed those teachers. We hope that by the time school opens, all the teachers will be deployed and deployed to schools, which is also another change that have come. First, teachers were employed in wholesale manner and left at the discretion of the regions to place them as they wanted, and it became who you can know or who you can see to get. So under His Excellency Akufo-Addo, 93,700 system in Ghana Education Service. For teacher education, we have already spoken about the fact that we have approved the teaching standards, we have improved the diploma program to a BEd degree, and we have improved all the colleges of education to become university colleges affiliated to the one of the 5 public universities doing. And that alone is going to bring competition. UCC is doing education, and they are premier institution. Actually, the premier institution in Ghana to start education was University of Ghana. Before government set up a specific university to deal with education, and everything was moved to UCC. So we now have University of Ghana, UCC, University Education Winneba, University Development Studies, and Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, all doing education. These 46 colleges have been divided amongst them by themselves. And you saw the Wesley College principal talking about being affiliated to KNUST. So that competition, that healthy competition that will arrive, would ensure that very soon people want to go to certain universities to go and do certain courses and not other universities to do other courses. But wherever you go, you will end up writing your licensing exam to ensure that at least you meet that standard of what we expect of a teacher. So under President Kufuor, teacher training colleges became colleges of education under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and that was moving certificate 8 teachers to diploma. Under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we are moving diploma teachers to BEd. It's only under MPP that teacher status are enhanced. I'll run through this because when you start teacher education, the first thing that we talked about was teacher recruitment and retention. The second point is teacher education. What have we done in these colleges? We've done a lot. That is not what we did in the colleges. I need to put only the teacher trainees and the colleges to talk about, but I'll run through a few things. We've restored the teacher trainee allowance by us. We've done that. We've developed the BEd program. We've divided the colleges among the public universities. We've developed national teaching standards. We've developed an assessment framework for that. We've developed set up implementation team to support it. We have introduced quality assurance and accreditation system for all the colleges. We have improved for the teachers in the colleges. We have moved all of them to the public university salary structure. For those that were principals, their salaries are far better than the colleges of education. And for the tutors, they even get the book and research allowance at a certain discounted rate, just like the technical universities and the polytechnics. So we can move on to slide number 16 or 17. That's all for teachers. We have also set up, just like we set up UCC to train teachers, we have set up a dedicated university, slide 17, called Akintin Appiah Menka University of Skill Training and Entrepreneurial Development. And this has been established to bring out teachers in the TVET area. When we want to make TVET sustainable, when we want to make TVET a driver of our industrialization program, we have to make sure that there's a pipeline of TVET instructors to be able to do. When we started JHS, those who went to JSS, that time it was called JSS. Every child in this country who went to JSS carried T-square and a drawing board. Because of lack of sustainability associated with that program, in 3 years, have we seen a JHS student with a... No, because we didn't have the teachers nor the equipment. To make it sustainable, not only would you have to re-equip the schools, you have to have a pipeline of teachers in TVET. And the Akintin Appiah Menka University was taken out of University of Winnipeg, their College of Technology in Kumasi, and their College of Agriculture in Mampong has become the nucleus of a dedicated university with a law that has been passed for sustainability in training TVET and other people in TVET. So when we find time and do TVET, you realize that over $700 million have been pumped into buildings, equipment, structure, transforming all the TVET institutions. Also, the teachers that are coming into those schools are being upgraded and made sure they have the necessary requisites. That main campus will be in Kumasi, and we'll have one of the colleges of education in every university colleges affiliated to that to make sure that we have TVET teachers scattered around the whole country, training and teaching in TVET. Number 3, teacher deployment. Like I said, previously, teachers would just be recruited and left at the mercy of the regional human resource managers too. Now, that is not what Ghana Education Service is doing. What Ghana Education Service is requesting from schools to declare their vacancies. We know now that in certain urban centers, in certain metropolises, there are more teachers than they are needed. Whereas in certain areas, they are lacking. So Ghana Education Service has partnered with International Education Commission, International, and they have gone out to the Teacher Work Task Force and Educational Workforce Initiative to try and streamline the deployment. Now, because the schools will have to declare vacancies, Ghana Education Service can now deploy based upon the vacancies that are in a region, because you know that these teachers are going to these schools than previously. That has brought more efficiency into the system. Instead of always putting the teachers in Accra, Kumasi, Tema, Takrady, and Sekondi, we would put the teachers where their services are needed most. When we talk about career pathways, currently a teacher's career pathway is to start from the classroom, go through head teachership, district, region, and possibly, and that is the end. So there's only one Director General. There are only 16 regional heads, and there are probably only 260 district directors. So a teacher would always mark time, and you become disinterested. When you come to the health profession, you sit on the ward, and you become a consultant. That is the highest paid doctor. You don't have to become I would never want to be a regional manager of health services. I'm not interested. I'm interested in looking after my patients and still having the dignity of work by my promotions, not having to go through that secretary's way. And now Ghana Education Service have deployed a two-way system, that those who want to go into leadership and management, just like you can go to Legon and do hospital management or hospital administration, you can go and choose a pathway of administration and get the knowledge and skills to become a school administrator. It's not everybody. The best teacher is not necessarily the best headmaster. Neither is the best headmaster the best economics teacher. But if you want to become a head of a school or a district or a region, you have to have that skills. And though you can stay in the classroom and be the best maths teacher and become a consultant mathematics teacher, mentoring other teachers whilst at the same time working for the good. And that is the different career pathway that under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo we have instituted. We have also realized as that part of that program, I'll show you some interesting papers. So as part of that program that started with the Japanese government support in 2012, we ended up piloting all these deployments and career pathways in 5 districts in Ghana: Savelugu, Shai Osudoku, Upper Manya Krobo, Ajubaku Enyam Asiam, and Kansida Nankana municipality. What came out of that was the fact that these career progresses and career pathways must be established in this country, which this government has taken forward. So the teacher who wants to stay in the classroom will be very, very comfortable, just like a professor in the university can start as a lecturer, stay, write his papers, stay in the classroom, teach and guide even postgraduates and become a professor without necessarily being a head of department or for that matter, the vice chancellor. So you can have 1,000 professors in university, but only one vice chancellor. But all those professors are well catered for and motivated to teach. That is what we are bringing into the pre-tertiary teacher unions, and that is why His Excellency the Rapid It's interesting if we all look at the papers. Now, we hear, I said it is only one presidential candidate that I've ever met who can speak 2 things, from one from the left side and the one from the right side. And I'm going to show you a few clips on that. You see, if there's Kwame Nkrumah's picture is there, we were celebrating his day, and then we all know that Kwame Nkrumah's birthday is 21st September. 21st September 2016, the Director General of Ghana Education Service told the whole world that teacher licensing was starting 2016, 2017. So when, let's not forget who was the president. President John Dramani Mahama. That was his government. So all the work had been done, and like I said, it started from under President Kufuor when we passed the law. Now that he's a contestant, he says when he comes, he'll cancel licensing. It beggars belief. It beggars belief. In 2016, when you were the president, that was what you wanted to do. Now, because the Akufo-Addo has done it and beaten you because you couldn't do it, you had no courage or competency to do it, you are saying Uba Abichem. The teachers will speak, and you will hear them very soon. Just like he said, I will cancel training allowance. Oh, of course, he didn't respect teachers. I will cancel training allowance, even if it cost me my election. So why are you coming back? You cancelled it and you have suffered the consequences. Why are you coming back? Coming back to mess it up because somebody has set it up better. And these are some of the things that he has said. Teacher training allowance won't be restored even if it cost me my election. Then, recently, January, I'll continue payment of teachers and nursing training. That was the same clip he said, but the cost, if he used the money, he can employ more nurses, so he will have to think about whether to put it in training. We are putting the allowances in the schools, and we will still employ more, and we have employed more teachers and nurses than we would ever dream of. In 2016, October 26th, this is what he said. I will create 3 million jobs in my second term. That is what he said, October. Okay. Let's see what he said in July 28, 2020. I will create 1 million jobs at the end of my term. When it was 2016, he said you will create 3 million jobs. When Ghanaians are giving birth more and the population is rising, you are going to create. So it tells you when it comes, doom so will come. It tells you when it comes, there will still be unemployed graduate students association, because it doesn't intend to go forward. If you could do that and promise 2016 that you will create 3 million jobs, in 2020 you should be promising 5 million. Just because in Nana Akufo for those 3 years, he's employed many more jobs than he's even promising when he comes he's going to do. We cannot do Ababa with your mama. Ghana needs to go forward. I have a couple of slides to complete. I'll put money in your pockets in my second term. This is the same gentleman of the land who told us as politicians when it's election time, we're chantro, now they are. So he said, I'll put money in your pockets in my second term. Then when he was campaigning in 2020, no president will put money in your pocket. That is him. I am not a magician, Mahama tells unemployed graduates. He was talking to teachers and nurses. Now he says when he comes, he's even thinking about whether to balance the money in your allowances or to employ. I'm seeking re-election to provide jobs for the future, for the youth. Which youth? The one that you told them you are not a magician? Or I don't know, I get confused myself. I can't think far. When I listen to President Mahama, because I have the capacity to think what happened yesterday. He said most Ghanaians cannot think about, have short memories. He said it. So all these things he had said, he thinks we will forget, but we'll play it to Ghanaians to reignite the decisions in the mind. He said, free SHS will collapse the Ghana education system. Then he says, I brought free SHS. That is the same man. I want you to know that what we can't have in our presidency is somebody who cannot make up his mind. And he himself wrote in his own book that he cannot make a decision. So if Ghana wants to go into a person who cannot make a decision, that is President Mahama for you. He says free SHS will collapse, but he has even said more. Next slide. Listen to him. Listen to him. Listen to this man. Listen to this one. Listen to the one who says he started to. Listen to what he again said at another forum and another day. MPP's huge spending on free SH compromising quality of education. Then he says, 3 days after, another group, another audience, NDC will extend free SHS to cover private schools. Senior, you have to print these things for Ghanaians. Then, Afofo Swampofo. Let's not belabor the point. He's not on the ballot paper. Next slide. The fifth point on the status of teachers and teaching was teacher employment. I've talked about employment and the number of teachers. We have employed 93,000 plus. And we are continuing to employ and will continue to employ going forward. For the first time, the teacher unions in August had their collective bargaining agreement or collective agreement signed, stipulating their conditions of service. This was after 2011 when it was expired. The last time they signed the contract was under President Kufuor in 2008, and it expired after 3 years. Since that time, the government that does not recognize teachers never signed the conditions of service with teachers. In fact, for the universities lecturers, The last time they even had a negotiation with government to improve on their conditions of service was 2006 under President Kufuor, when the current Vice Chancellor of University of Ghana was the Secretary of UTAG. Since that time, you see what Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has done. So it is only the MPP government that understands teaching, and the teachers and the teaching profession. You hear one of the surrogates of the NDC come on air. It has a lovely name. I don't even want to repeat it for reasons. He comes out with the verbal diarrhea and talks about, we have cancelled responsibility allowance. Recently, when we debunked it at our last meeting here, he's come out again and said, we have cancelled transfer grant. Tomorrow, he will say we have even cancelled teacher salary. Because they want to talk so they get the vote, because they think the more you talk, the more you make sense, the more Ghanaians will vote for you, not the more you talk. So, we believed in the teacher, we recognized the teacher at the center of our quality education, so that we were able to sit down with the teachers to negotiate on their conditions of service that expired after the President Kufuor one that they signed in 2008, expired in 2011. And we concluded of good faith, and we are going to pay. I wanted to show you a copy of the letter they didn't put here. The fair wages are sent to the Ministry of Finance to start. We concluded these conditions in August. And one of the new things that came up, because we have started teacher licensing, was the professional teacher allowance. That was 1,200 Ghana cedis, and for the teacher who was not professional, it's 800 Ghana cedis. It has never happened in the history of the country for pre-tertiary teacher unions or teachers to ever get a professional teacher allowance. Under His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who believes that we should recognize teachers for the work that they do, has instituted a professional teacher allowance. Not only that, the professional teacher allowance was for certain things that the teachers have committed themselves to do. One, to have professional development days. Now, for a teacher to maintain yourself in good standing, you have to do your continuous professional development. And that is a free day for every teacher. It's 4 days a year that you go for those training courses for free. And government wants you to use your 1,200 to pay. And when you go for a day, it's about 50 cedis or 60 cedis to support the teacher, to be able to enhance the teacher while teaching his capacity. And almost all the profession do it. We have not only done that. Also, every Wednesday in the afternoon in our schools, there will be no teaching. The teachers will meet to think about themselves and how to upgrade and improve the teaching and learning in the school. That constitutes 78 contact hours that we are giving for the teacher to improve the service. In those conditions of service that we signed, or collective agreement that we signed, these allowances, among others, are still in place. You know, vehicle maintenance allowance. Under President Kufuor, teachers were allowed to bring in vehicles, one over a period of time, tax-free, taxes waived. Do you know who cancelled it? President John Dramani. You see, under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and his NDC cohort, teachers were never well thought of. That is why I refuse to read what Ufuswapo said. Because what Esiedu Ufuswapo said about teachers and their training allowance is unprintable. I cannot even begin to repeat. But we have restored vehicle maintenance allowance, kilometric, depending on how you go and come, allowance, night allowance, allowance for teachers in deprived and difficult areas, retention allowance, protective clothing allowance, advance to purchase means of transport, salary advance, special allowance, transfer grant, permanent posting allowance, and responsibility allowance. We want to enhance the profession. It has been signed, sealed, and delivered. It has become a commitment. I will talk about only 2 of these allowances since I want to fight NDC on their misinformation. They said we have cancelled, they will in their manifesto, in their documents they put together as People's Manifesto. That's what they said, where they promised mortuary and Okada. In that manifesto, they said they will restore responsibility allowance. Responsibility allowance has never been cancelled. But it's only 8 categories of teachers that do get responsibility allowance. Only 8 or 9. And those 9 are what is the head of a basic school, a headmaster or headmistress, assistant headmaster or headmistress, chaplains and imams, form masters and form mistresses, guidance and counseling coordinators, head of department, house masters and house mistresses, and unit heads. So if you are a form master and you had this responsibility allowance and you have gone for promotion and you have become a district director, you are no longer entitled to that professional allowance. It's basic HR. It's basic HR. Because where you are going comes up with new allowances that you will not get where you are there. And since the last promotion was done in July, people's statuses have changed. So Ghana Education Service should rework out the allowances so that it goes to those who have come to occupy new positions, so that everybody. So that doesn't mean it's been cancelled. This is not an entitlement for every teacher. It is an entitlement as a special allowance for these categories of teachers. The total number, we have 350,000 people on the payroll. The total number of these people are less than 35,000, or just around 35,000. So it cannot be true that MPP government, actually is even in the conditions of service. So I shouldn't belabor the point. For those who don't understand teaching, who wants to get teacher sympathy votes, are lying to people that they will come and restore responsibility allowance, which has never been taken. I don't know when they existed, they could take it away, but it has never been taken. The latest one, a certain Alovi, is saying transfer grants have been taken away from teachers. This Alovi, I won't even go to him and his record, but it is not true. It is in the conditions of service and a collective agreement that is signed. Transfer grants is not 100% automatic entitlement for every teacher. When GES asks you to go on transfer from a certain position A to position B, then you are entitled to 3 months of your basic salary as transfer grant. If you, the teacher, come and say, I'm teaching in Napo village, I want to go to Boateng City, and Boateng City is 3 kilometers from Napo village, you are not entitled to a transfer grant. So there are rules governing that we've sat down with the unions and negotiated. So every teacher should get a copy of the collective bargaining agreement and study and know your rights, responsibilities, and your accountability mechanism. The next slide talks about teacher upgrading and study leave, which is also another issue that teachers have brought about. Let us all think about everybody in this room and everybody in Ghana owning a business that you have employed 1,000 people. You wake up and you go to your office one day expecting 1,000 people at work, and 300 are not there because they have gone on study leave without informing you. What will happen? So study leave is governed by rules and regulations. You have to first apply to your management for it to be granted, because as you are going, somebody must be responsible for teaching the children in the class. You cannot leave an empty class for 3 years and get your study leave pay and the classroom is empty. So there should be a notification that when GES grants you that study leave, it can then fill your place appropriately. So every teacher who was granted permission to go on study leave and has returned and informed Ghana Education Service would be upgraded, especially if he went to do a program related to what you are teaching. If you are a creative arts teacher and you went to do a master's in MBA finance, Ghana Education Service will look and say, based upon what you went to do, even though it was granted, you are not qualified for an automatic promotion because it's not going to enhance your work that you are doing. So there are rules governing everything. Every teacher if you are teaching maths education and you went to get a leadership in mathematics education, when you come, instead of waiting for 4 years, under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, which was a campaign promise I read, it is now 2 years, you granted your promotion. Teacher reward and remuneration. For those, this year on World Teacher Day in Cape Coast, Ghana Education Service promoted about 9 teachers out of 10. And what we mean by out of 10, they were not due for promotion, but they were promoted. Why? Because they had gotten prizes in early childhood education. Their classrooms have become examples, centers of excellence for the teaching and education of child. So every teacher that got a prize in Ghana Teacher Prize last year has been promoted out of 10. That are some of the rewards we get for teaching and instituting a best teaching prize. So those rewards and remuneration, when we realize that a lot, because of free senior high school, a lot of the teachers, we have to employ over 8,200 teachers to support the double track system. We didn't only stop there. We provided a teacher motivation allowance so that the teachers can give extra tuition to these children who have come to the school. That is a joined up government that understands education and have to motivate teachers too. So salary adjustments come immediately after promotion when we validate where you are, and teachers are promoted out of 10. Example, like a Ghana Teacher Prize, and any teacher who brings good story to bear on your teaching can also be promoted out of 10. We've talked about remuneration, and in Ghana there's a collective bargaining or tripartite committee that decides on what everybody should be remunerated, the TUC, the employers and things, which we follow. And we have increases teachers' remuneration every year in, year out, since it's Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And we don't even have arrears to pay for teachers we have raised. That is a government that understands education. We changed the National Best Teacher Prize to become the Ghana Teacher Prize to follow the global standards. And since then, Ghanaian teachers are among the best, and we are competing favorably. If we take 50 best teachers in the world, and there's a Ghanaian for 2 years running, we've done a lot. If for last year, a Ghanaian became the African Teacher Prize, you see that this is a motivated tax workforce that is delivering on behalf of Ghana. We have abolished the 3 months pay policy killer. It is that 3-month pay policy killer that led to legacy arrears that President Akufo-Addo has been paying and paying only for teachers. Every other profession was not paid. Only the teachers, because he wanted to respect and regard and recognize teachers. We have paid over 90%. We do acknowledge that some have not been paid. What we have said is that those who have not been paid should quickly put in their, through even their union leaders, and we will make arrangements and pay. Just like the professional teacher allowance, you have to be validated because not everybody on the payroll qualifies. So you have to send your documents through your district and we'll pay. We want to pay. We are ready to pay to fulfill that obligation by the time you take your thumb, and vote number 1. Okay. Let's go to, I have a short video clip. I want to see how desperately some people want to capitalize on ignorance. There are only one group of people who want to use ignorance to make a name and get promoted in politics. We don't. So let's listen to this clip. Oh, that is my very good friend. That's my very good. We can't
examinations. They become very controversial. NAS position is what? Are you going to, when are you starting the exams and are you for it?
Already there are discussions ongoing on the fee that has to be charged. I think last week
But you are for the policy?
Sure, we are for it.
So you write the licensure exams and are you for it?
Already there are discussions ongoing on the fee that has to be charged. I think last week
But you are for the policy?
Sure, we are for it.
So you write the licensure?
We will write.
Is the question is about the... What is it now?
If minister can give it to us as our Christmas bonus, we'll be very grateful to hear
So now you want to write it for free?
Yes, if it is, it's very fine because we become professionals.
Because there's a controversy about whether it's necessary. The NDC's position is that they will cancel it. You don't need to write licensure exams. Well, your position is that you like it.
Yes, we feel that, yes, you see, in Ghana, we all hear of a fake lawyer being arrested. True. Have you ever heard of a fake teacher? No. But there are plenty of them. But sometimes these SHS graduates who go and teach people even in their homes, when they go and defile a student, they say a teacher has defiled the child. So we want these benchmarks to be dealt with, especially in the private.
We are not going to be ignorant and fools every day for people to capitalize on that. The teacher unions are in support of the licensing exams because they want to arrest what? Fake teachers. We arrest fake doctors, fake lawyers, and they also want to be recognized. So that somebody goes to defile somebody, they can say he's not part of our professional cadre. We are moving on as a country, and lies cannot be sustained forever. The last but two things on the teacher benchmarks is teacher accountability and governance. And what we have done is that we have retooled certain bodies within the Ghana's education system, like the school inspectorate that deals with inspection of schools to make sure that they are safe and secure, that the right number of qualified teachers are teaching, that you are not propagating any unsound, uncultural or alien practices at the side of education in our schools. The National Inspectorate Board has been transformed and is now the School Inspectorate Authority. That will ensure that our schools are safe for our kids. When we leave our kids there 8 hours, they are not abused. For accountability purposes, we have benchmarks that we are introducing, and the World Bank is supporting us to undergo this project that has started in earnest called Gallup. That 10,000 of our poorest schools are being given incentives, school grants. They are training school management. They are training over 70,000 teachers to ensure 76,000 teachers, affecting over 2.3 million kids, over 260, nearly in every district in the country. For those schools that are the lowest part of our educational line to also come out with targeted investment and resources. That is a government that understands that there are rights, responsibilities, and accountability mechanisms everybody must undergo. And thank you, and may God bless us. And may God bless us. Before I run and go and sit down, repetition, like the parrot, is not a bad thing. If you put a parrot in your house, make sure you have ears to listen to all the gossip. Everything that the parrot sees, it will tell its master. When you went, Madame was in the house. When you went, Master was in the house. When Master came, Auntie came to visit and they had a beer. The parrot will tell the Madame, if Madame is the owner, since I'm the parrot, I have to tell you what Nana Akufo-Addo's government has done. Boswaba, we have reinstated the teacher training allowance. And now even the professor and the former vice chancellor is now denying. She forgets that his government cancelled the book and research allowance and introduced in Parliament the tertiary education fund. They said they won't pay. If you're a teacher and you want to do research, go to the research fund. We have not only maintained the book and research allowance, we have increased the research component by 200% from 500 cities to 1,500 cities. And as we speak, the teacher unions in the tertiary education space, UTAC, is sitting with their fair wages to conclude on their conditions of service that they have never had since 2006 under President Kufuor. We have employed over 93,000 staff into the Ghana education. We have paid over 90% of the legacy arrears. We have abolished the inimical 3-month pay policy. We have had no teacher union strike. Because we have dealt with respect and dignity with the teacher unions. We have improved the system of promotion. And we all realized that in July, when the promotion results came, teachers were applauding because in 3 months they all got their salary. And it's just an aptitude test that we have done. For the senior levels, yes, because they are fewer numbers, they will still go through an interview because you are becoming more responsible and we expect more of you. But for 80% of the teachers, the aptitude test is good enough for us to promote you. Of course, we have introduced the 1,200 professional teacher allowance. We have signed a collective agreement with the teacher pre-tertiary teacher unions. We have a better accountability system that is being tried under Gallup. We have upgraded university colleges, colleges of education. We upgraded under President Kufuor training colleges to become colleges of education, and that now the colleges of education have become university colleges. We have changed the top-up period from 3 years from diploma to degree to a 1-year, 3-semester system. We have agreed with UCC to start deploying that, and so very soon the minimum qualification for a teacher will be a bachelor's degree, very, very, very soon. And that means that you go up three steps up the remuneration ladder within Ghana Education Service. We believe we have a better deployment system that we are going to emphasize, and we know that in supporting technical and vocational education, we have established a university purposely for that. If that is not a government that recognizes teachers, we certainly don't need a Babase. Thank you.